Hello, good evening. I hope everyone is very, very well. This is the first rendition of what I hope is a lot of them. I hope this continues. It's something completely new. I hope you can all hear me in the chat. If you can, let me know in the chat. That would be fantastic. If not, I'll have to sort out the audio, but I think it should be coming out okay. So if you guys can let me know in the chat whether the audio is sounding okay. I completely apologise for yesterday. Life gets in the way. It is what it is. No big deal. Apologies. But yes, we will be moving forward with the show. And essentially, I just want people to call in. Let me know your thoughts on the weekend, especially the Newcastle United and Brighton game. We've got this for about 45 minutes, hour maximum, I would say. If you want to call in, probably looking at 3 to 4 minutes each phone call to get your point across. What went wrong? Should we be concerned about the similarities and substitutions that Eddie Howe is making? Should we be concerned about the fact that Tonali is coming off? Should we be concerned about the lack of production from Isak, maybe? What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat, and then if you want to call in, obviously I'll get the number to you very, very quickly. This should be coming out on screen any minute now. There we are. Number at the bottom, 07510 134 025. If you want to call in, please do so. Have your say about what you think about the weekend. If you want to talk about a game that isn't Newcastle United Brighton, we can obviously do that as well. That's what we need to make this show continue. At the end of the day, if no one calls in, it's not going to work. It's as simple as that. The last thing I want is me just sitting here talking waffle at you, because from both ends it just becomes a little bit boring, doesn't it? So I'd love to have your input. We've got lots of things that we can do in terms of bringing in a bit of audio. There's certain music we can use, have a little bit of fun with it. I just really want to make this grow. Obviously, we've got the production kit here. We've got the Rodecaster Pro. We've got the Atom Mini. I don't know if the other camera's still working. It may well be. Let's have a look. No, that one's died. We've got a caller. Bear with me a second. Let's see if this comes through okay. Hello?
Hello, it's Nigel. It's Newcastle. I'm just bringing Newcastle on TV.
Hi, Nigel. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. You are live immediately, so I do apologise. Put you on the spot straight away. Just let me know, Nigel, what is it you want to talk about?
Just the game on Saturday evening, really, but Newcastle Brighton. It was I think it was worrying. I think it was a very worrying display in terms of how we played, especially after Liverpool. Liverpool was worried as well. I'm not finishing that match off,
let's talk about that Liverpool game first of all, Nigel. Jesus Christ, I don't know about you. I was at the game, and it was absolutely heartbreaking being sat there watching us capitulate like that. But I don't know about you. To be honest, when Van Dijk was sent off, I always thought we need another goal, because you tend to get the opposition side who go down to 10 men, and they always seem to be able to have a bite of it, and it just becomes a little bit more difficult for the team with 11 men. I don't know how you felt about it. Where did you go wrong? Where did it go wrong? You think it was the changes, or what happened?
It was definitely a red card, firstly.
Yeah.
We had so many chances. Liverpool, I think we had Liverpool on toast. I really do. Alexander-Arnold should have arguably been sent off. I guess from 10 to 9 would have been different, but we had the chances. Amron had 2 chances. The one where the keeper made a great save, and he weaved through, and then he hit the post. And I think that was maybe in the second half. Amron's also had a lot of unfair criticism, I think, from sections of the Newcastle fan base. But I always think he's got ability, and I think he always tries hard. Liverpool were there definitely for taking them, which we should have taken that. And the subs as being talked about, Brighton and Liverpool, I think they're quite similar. Difference between, I think, top end managers and average managers. I'm not saying that Eddie Howe's an average manager. Is they change the subs are quite similar, I think, the last 2 games, rather than changing the formation, etc., and what's happened in the game. I feel like he's just freshening it up like for like. I feel like Tonelli's been very unlucky to be taken off He was definitely taken off Brighton, and possibly Liverpool as well.
Why do you think that was, Nigel? What? Because I agree with you 100%, and I think
I struggle. I struggle because I think I love Bruno. I'm not one of these people that slag Bruno off. I think Bruno's been great. This season he started a little bit more sloppy by his high standards. I feel like on Saturday he couldn't get a pass together. He was very sloppy. And Tornelli was probably the better player in the team really. Out of he was certainly the better out of the three in midfield. And I feel like taking him off was unlucky. It was harsh. And I also feel like Bruno and Tornelli are quite similar in a way. They're probably trying to do the same job,
Yeah, I think there's been quite a lot of talk on social media, hasn't there? And people have said, that they're struggling to. Obviously, it is very early days, but a lot of people are saying that they're kind of counteracting each other because they're trying to do the same work. What do you do? Obviously, we've got the international break coming up, which is I personally think, guys, if you're just calling, we're just currently on. If you can give a call back in about 60 seconds, that would be great. Yeah, international break I think has come at the right time. Usually, I'd say it hasn't because we're usually on a decent streak, but I think we need it to reset. What do you do going into that Sheffield United game? Do you revert back to what we were doing against Brighton? Do you change it up completely? Obviously it's difficult with the setback with Willock as well. What do you think we need to do?
I personally bring Longstaff in. I think Longstaff, we didn't lose many games with Longstaff in last season. He's not the prettiest of footballers in the world. He's not your star signing, but I feel like he's a massive player, and this is a big decision for Eddie Howe because if I know he's probably going to have to leave out one of his, Bruno or Tonelli. I just feel like for the short term, maybe leave one of them out, and then hopefully longer term they can play together. Willock is a massive miss as well. I think Willock is a massive miss. We missed him, haven't we? And he's got a different sort of engine and things. And I think you've got to get the wingers set. He doesn't know which wingers he likes. He likes Gordon. Does he like Barnes? Does he like Almiron? He does seem to have favourites. Left back as well. I'm amazed that not Dan Burnley, but I'm amazed that he started Matt Taggart over Hall. Is there fitness issues there? I don't know. I really don't know. The fullback's a bit of an issue really because we signed so many fullbacks: Ashby, Livramento, Hall, and I don't know. We haven't seen enough of them yet. Maybe it's fitness. I don't know, but I don't know what's happened to Livramento either. Is he going to just play when Trippier's injured? Trippier hasn't had a great start, has he, either by his high standards?
No, it was against Brighton. He made that mistake, which nearly cost us. Obviously, he was able to rectify it pretty quickly, but just little things like that. I was looking, and very much like you said, it was they just seem off, don't they? That there's a lack of chemistry, something that we really, really had last year. And the one thing I'm struggling with is because obviously I don't think. We had a fantastic season last season, absolutely. And the last thing any of us want to do is criticise people unnecessarily. But I do think there's room for us to be able to talk about it. But when you have people like Bruno, who's obviously very passionate, and I think you probably saw that he bit back at one of the fan accounts on Twitter. Do you think these sorts of things are going to come back to haunt us a little bit? Because the fans are so close to the players these days, and it's clear that they do see these things. Do you think these sorts of things are going to start to have an impact? Because the last thing we want is to I think sometimes we need to be brought back down to earth a little bit, and the last thing I want is a fan base to kind of get carried away.
Absolutely. I feel like the things I've seen over the last 4 hours, so I think we need to be constructive in our criticism. I feel like there has been some deluded comments about calling for Howe, etc. As well as we need to know where we come from, but we also need to understand that what we've seen so far this season isn't good enough. In a way, I think we've been victims to our own success. I'm sorry if that's a bit word of mouth, but season one we got Champions League, and I don't think that was ever really part of the remit, was it? Really, I think if you'd have asked someone 12 months ago, it's probably top 8, maybe top 6 if you're lucky, and we finished 4th. Should have been 3rd, maybe. So I feel like we've got to find a balance between constructive criticism, and I feel like players and managers and coaches will accept that, but being not constructive and just calling for managers' heads and players, and it's just not fair. It's finding the balance, isn't it? And we have the best fans in the world because of our support, and I can't wait to see Milan black and white in a couple of weeks. I think that's going to be fantastic.
Excellent. Just before I let you go then, Nigel, because I really appreciate your time, we'll get some other guys and girls on as well. How do you think we're going to fare in that Milan game?
I'm gonna be optimistic and say a 2-1 win.
Brilliant, Nigel. Really appreciate your time, mate. Take care, and hopefully we'll have you on again soon, mate.
Cheers. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Bye. Nigel, absolute legend. Apologies, guys, when you're ringing through. Got some music that's just kicked in. I do apologise there. So, yes, that was Nigel. Appreciate your time there, Nigel. Just got another call coming in, guys. Bear with me a second. You are live on Newcastle Fans TV.
How are you doing, KARL? This is Connor here, member of the channel.
Connor, how are you, mate? I know you very well, of course.
Yeah, not bad, mate, not bad. Good to speak to you again since the lockdown watch-alongs and stuff like that.
It's been a long time, hasn't it, mate? I've kind of disappeared into the background, I think. I moved up here to be involved in all the content and kind of disappeared. How are you, mate? You okay?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Disappointing weekend, obviously. I think, I'm just, at this point in time, I'm trying my best to stick with it.
Yeah.
But I think you can see we have clearly went a little step backwards because, it took us until, March last season before we lost our third game of the season. We've already lost 3 in a row. And I think Eddie Howe's blighted now by the fact that he raised the expectation levels in the first season. So we do expect better than that. And I think the City game is one that we can all kind of write off and go, well, fine, you go away to City. It's the hardest game you'll play all season, so at least that's done and dusted. Certainly there, obviously, we need to play him in the cup at home. But the Liverpool and Brighton ones for me are... Brighton, I expected so much more. I thought they would go into it with a bit between their teeth and go, you know what, we're hurting for last week. Let's use that hurt for what happened and go and get the win. And I just didn't see it from minute one when I was watching it. It looked slow. It didn't look like the way we've been playing.
I absolutely agree with you, mate. I was infuriated by it, to be honest, because I don't know if there was a lack of effort, something just wasn't right, but I absolutely agree. The one thing I expected was just to go out and rectify what happened at Liverpool, and it just seemed like we were making similar mistakes. Where do you think it's gone wrong? I mean, look, I don't want people to think that, this is the world's end or anything like that, but at the end of the day, I agree with you. We should have beat Liverpool. And what happened? We should have beat Liverpool. We've absolutely thrown that away. And we just didn't put up a performance against Brighton. And I think it's fair for people to start holding people to account and express an opinion on what's gone wrong. So what do you think it is from yourself?
Personally, I think it's two things. In the main, I think the defence, for some reason, looks shakier than it did last year. We had a fantastic defensive record last year. And this season, I feel like we have conceded some sloppy goals. The 2 against Liverpool were ridiculous when you've got a man advantage. You can't be giving that space away. And then the 3, one of them is admittedly a bit of a wonder strike for Evan Ferguson, and we know how good he is, so you've got to tip your cap and give him credit. But the other 2 are avoidable. The first one is it's a bit of a shambles. There's mistakes everywhere. And by the time Gilmore hits his shot at goal, it's too quick for him to try and catch it. So you're kind of looking, he's parried it into the wrong area, and that's allowed Ferguson in. And I just think we need to. I know we were missing Bolton. That doesn't help. But he has been part of the defence before him. And I think even the one good result we had against Aston Villa, you think about the goal we conceded in that game. There was too much space given to Douglas Luiz, I think it was, at that time as well. So that's something that seems to have changed. They look a bit more open at the back. And I also think that the creativity up front, certainly in the last few games, seems to have dried up. We don't, we create sometimes, and then I think like at the weekend we didn't create enough. But even when we are creating, we're not taking chances when they fall away. Because, again, I hate to go back to it, but in the Liverpool game, with the chances we did have, we should have been out of sight before Nunez even come on the park.
It was, why do you think that clinical finishing that we've had has kind of diminished? I know, like I said, we're only 3 games in, but it is worrying because we were so clinical last season, and I think it's fair to say the only reason that we probably didn't finish in the top three is because we didn't take some of the chances that we probably should have. But you then bring players in to rectify that. The likes of Harvey Barnes, whose scoring record is fantastic. Bringing the likes of Tonali in to allow people to progress forward. And it seems like we've gone backwards.
Yeah, as well, part of it's decision making, I think, because, Harvey Barnes, when he got through against Liverpool, he's got to square it quickly for KARL Nelson to run on for what ultimately for him would have been a tap-in. So you have to look at that. But I can't really see why. We did have a similar issue at times last season with our chances. We had a lot of draws last season, which, that's fine as long as you're not losing games and you're picking up points most weeks, then you can kind of get away with it. But that did, as you say, was the reason we didn't finish third. What was those draws? And I think the sharpness is to be there. I'd have liked to have seen us actually bring another proper striker in the transfer window there. I appreciate why we didn't, because obviously we strengthened in the midfield area in particular, which is it's fair enough. And Harvey Barnes, I think, is a good attacking option. So, I think we'll see much better out of him. But, when your only two strikers are Isaac and Callum Wilson, which are not bad strikers to have, they're kind of similar as well in their approach. So something a bit different that wouldn't have harmed us at times as well to have a third option to bring on and try and change it when it's not working.
No, and hindsight's obviously a wonderful thing as well, and I think a lot of us were calling for another position, and that was strengthening that centre-half position, and the fact that we haven't, I think, for some reason, when we look to strengthen a position, we talk about it and we don't do it. Something always seems to come and bite us in the arse. So obviously the Botman injury shouldn't be anything too much to worry about, but it has proven that we're unbelievably weak without him in the side, which is, not surprising, but surprising to the extent that we just capitulate the way we do without him. Are you annoyed that we didn't sign a centre-half, Connor, or was it just about more attacking options for you?
No, I think we could have done with a centre half, because when you look at the midfield, I think the midfield was the one area that you didn't have to make more, a lot of changes to. But that seemed to be the real focus, and I just think, and I've got nothing against them, but you're looking at that game at the weekend with Botman being out. When you're making the sub at the back, it's Jamal Lascelles that we've then had to bring on, and that's. I love the guy for what he's done for the club, but I've said it before, he's just not at the level we're operating at anymore. So we really shouldn't be having to call him into action as the first choice sub. But when Botman goes, because we've not signed anybody, that's kind of what's happening just now. So hopefully Botman will be back quickly. But I would have liked another defender to come in. I know we signed Liverpool, but he's more a full-back than a centre half. Might have liked to have seen him actually get a start against Brighton just to see what he could do. Because Matt Targett's a good player, but I think Liverpool could have offered us something a bit different in there as well on Saturday. So, yeah, I think maybe come January we might start to see that be the next area of focus if we're still kind of looking a bit leaky at the back. Because it's all about depth. When you're playing in 4 competitions that we're playing in this season, you need a squad that's capable of fighting in all fronts. And especially now you don't even have the luxury of having a nice easy first round tie in the League Cup because it's City at home. So we actually can't rest many players if we want to go through that tie. And to be fair, I don't think City will rest many players either, because they'll see that as a difficult away game for them to start their campaign at all. So, unfortunately, we're going to have to, hope that the players can handle it. And I'm sure things will turn, because it's fair to say that the fixtures were not kind to us at the start of the season, having City, Liverpool, and then Brighton away. But I would have expected us to win at least 2 of those games. But as it turns out, we haven't. And I wonder as well, because I've said it in the Discord, and I've been rightly criticised, but I just wonder how much of it is the level that Eddie Howe can get to, because he just, Liverpool seems to be a team he can never beat, no matter the circumstances. He just can't get that hurdle. And Brighton, we've struggled with for years. We've not.
Oh, Connor, I've lost you, mate. Connor, can you hear me? If you can, we've lost you, buddy. I can't hear you. What we'll do is, Connor, I really appreciate your input, mate. We've got calls coming in, so I'll get some more calls in, because I've had to decline a few whilst on there. So if you're ready to jump in, then give us a call. Extensive analysis from Connor there, who looking at the bar that Eddie Howe was setting. Is that something that he's struggling with now? What do you guys think? Give us a call. I've missed a few calls, so I do apologise. Give us a call back and we'll get you straight in. Domino Gaming says, not a single Geordie accent yet. Okay. If you're from Newcastle, get yourself on then. Call coming in. Hello, you are live on Newcastle Fans TV. Who am I talking to?
Hey, it's Gordon Manning.
Hiya, mate. You okay?
Still a bit disappointed about the weekend.
Oh, massively so, mate. Massively so. Talk to me about it. Where did it go wrong, mate?
The changes again is the sloppy goals and mistakes, and where do you start? There's mistakes, sloppy defending, post mistakes.
What is it specifically that you think's gone wrong? I mean, obviously the Liverpool game was absolutely.
I think teams are working out now.
Yeah.
Tactics wise.
I had a similar conversation with someone regards the teams potentially working us out. Is that where you think it's come from? That teams have obviously been able to watch enough of us over the last season and started to emulate the kind of press that we've had?
Yeah, as you see in last season, I think if we played Brighton last season, I think we could have beat them.
Yeah.
But now it's this season, tactics wise, I think Eddie Howe is getting found out.
What do you think that needs to change? Obviously, you talk about the tactics there. Is there anything specific that you think we should change? I mean, I don't know about you, and the last thing I want to do is criticise Eddie Howe to a huge extent, but it's the same substitutions every week, isn't it? And, I'll probably get blasted for this in the comments, but if that was Steve Bruce, we would be absolutely foaming.
Exactly. I just don't understand why he's taking Tonali off and replacing him again, and then he bring off, he don't bring on Copy Barnes and play him on the right.
Yeah, it's what do you make of Miggy Almiron's performance so far this season?
Shocking. He's another one that's had a bad start to the season.
And what do you think it is? Obviously, he had that purple patch last season, and then even after that, he still continued to work hard. Still had a big influence on the side, albeit not scoring as many goals as he did start in the season. What's gone on? It just seems like all the hard work that we did last season. I know we talk about the fact that we've been found out essentially, but individually, it looks like there's Is there a lack of drive from some of the players? Is there a bit of complacency?
I think we're finishing where we did last season. I think the players are still thinking, "Oh, we're going to be doing the same again this season."
Mm.
I think some of these players now are thinking, "Oh, we're going to play doing last season, finish in the top four." I'll be honest, I don't think we're going to finish. I don't think we're going to finish fourth. I think we'll be looking to finish sixth or seventh.
I mean, to be fair, how would you feel if we did finish sixth and seventh? We have a decent Champions League run, for example, a decent couple of cup runs. We don't win anything, but we end up finish sixth or seventh. How do you feel about that with the influx of games that we'll have? Is that something? Would you see that as us going backwards? Obviously, we did, finishing in the Champions League last year, but with the amount of games that we've got coming up, what's success this season? How do we have to qualify for Champions League again?
Well, to be honest with you, I'll be happy with finishing sixth. Europa League.
Okay.
To me, that's a success.
Yeah, no. So, but then obviously you want a good cup run at whilst you're at it, I imagine.
When it comes to FA Cup, I don't want to get knocked out in the third round again.
No.
That's embarrassing as well.
Massively so. We've got people in the comments as well saying that Anthony Gordon's been our best player in recent games. How do you feel about that?
Oh, he shocked me, Anthony Gordon, how good he's been. He's been our best player by a couple of miles, and taking him off as well. I don't understand the tactic against Liverpool. They take it off against Liverpool, and Tonali get taken off as well. It's just I don't understand what's going on with Eddie Howe. Why he's taking our best players off?
I absolutely agree with you. The Anthony Gordon substitution for me was a lot of people talk about Tonali, and I get that, but the Anthony Gordon substitution for me was absolutely criminal. He's had Alexander-Arnold on toast all game. He's in his head.
I was just about to say that.
He doesn't want to know. Why would you take him off?
I watched the full game and I thought Anthony Gordon's absolutely destroying Alexander-Arnold at right back.
Massively so.
And then when he took off, I think, what's he doing? Why is he taking Anthony Gordon off? Why?
It was a strange one, wasn't it? It really was. How do we turn it back around? I mean, we're all obviously very annoyed about this, and there's a lot of negativity from us all, but I think it's well placed. It's not. I don't think we're trying to bash people here. But you look at it, and we're actually only 1 point worse off than we were last season, and we obviously ended up finishing fourth. Is it time to start worrying, or is it a case of we have to go out and beat Sheffield United, or if we lose to Sheffield United? Sorry.
I said to me, mate, I think our next 3 games are winnable. If we can pick up 9 points in then 3 games, that gets us back on track.
If we don't do that, if we lose against Sheffield United or we get a draw against Sheffield United, for example, and then we struggle against Brentford, we obviously know that I don't think Amanda Staveley and Mirdad would want to do this, but it's clear to see that the Saudi owners are very much expecting success from this side pretty quickly now. Does Eddie Howe become under pressure if he doesn't do well in those next 2 to 3 games?
I think if he didn't win the next 3 games or get good positive results, my opinion, I think he's going to be in trouble. And
how would you feel about that as a fan?
I'd be devastated because I think he's done a good job. Where we were a couple of years ago, to finish where we were last season, finishing 4th, and now start this season. But I've said to people, just give it time, see where we are come Christmas.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely fair. I absolutely agree. I think 99% of the fan base would agree as well. I think we can all see that there is potential from the Saudi owners to put Eddie Howe under pressure should we not continue to do well in the next 2 or 3 games. But we'd all hate for him to become under that pressure. So I think that's where the difference lies. I think we all do back him 100%, and I agree with you. Let's see where we are in Christmas. I'd be absolutely gutted if Eddie Howe was to come under pressure. But it's worrying, isn't it? We've got these owners in. It's been fantastic, them taking over Mike Ashley, etc. The influx of the money that we've been able to spend on players and to develop the squad. But for us to push on to a successful club, unfortunately, there's going to be times like this, and I hope Eddie Howe doesn't succumb to that pressure. I really do hope that we go out and beat Sheffield United.
I hope we didn't buckle under pressure.
Say that again, mate.
That's my worry. That's my worry. I just hope we didn't buckle under the pressure.
I agree with you, and that's what my worry's been these last week. I just felt a little bit of pressure come from Liverpool. We've kind of buckled as a team. Pressure from Brighton again. We've kind of buckled, and you just think, oh, what's going? Like, this is something that we didn't do last season. What's happened? And I agree with you. I think it's going to be time to see what Eddie Howe's made of. Obviously, he's kept us up, which was absolutely fantastic, and we finished where we did the season that he came in. But it's real testing times already, which is absolutely mad after 3 games. I think,
I'm nervous, to be honest with you, mate. I'm absolutely nervous.
What
this season ahead?
Yeah, which is crazy. I don't know how you felt at the start of the season. And it is mad because we played 3 very good teams in the last 3 games. But we should have beat Liverpool, and we at least should have come out and put a fight up against Brighton. It didn't feel like we did that, especially after a huge win against Aston Villa. It is difficult. How do you think we're going to fare against AC Milan?
That's the worry as well. You see Milan at the San Siro. I'll be happy with it. I'll be happy with 3 points, but it'll probably be good as well. As long as we don't get hammering.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, mate. I really do appreciate it. Please jump on the next one that we do and continue to watch the show. Drop a like, guys, if you like what we've done so far. I really appreciate your time, mate, and we'll get some more callers in.
Well done. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Lots of... I think we're all in the same boat here, aren't we? Let me just get some of that music turned on. I think we're all in the same boat. It's really difficult to navigate this because lots of people on the outside can come in and look in and think, oh, what are we talking about here? But I think it's realistic to think that should we not do well against Sheffield United and Brentford, that Eddie Howe is going to come under pressure. Another call incoming. You are live on Newcastle Fans TV. Who am I speaking to?
You full well know who you're speaking to.
Is that the one and only Mr. Mulliner?
Maybe.
Can I just get in the chat as well? I need a huge happy birthday for Sam. It's his birthday. He's calling me on his birthday. What a legend.
No, come on. We don't need to do that. It's just another day.
He's 21 again. 21 in the chat, guys.
Yeah, that'll do.
Talk to me, mate. What do you want to say?
I just hope that there's no pile on to the likes of Bruno and et al. It's quite concerning, really, that the best midfielder we've had in a generation is going to see a lot of negativity about him and whoever online.
Yeah,
and he could go anywhere he wants. He's an emotional guy. We know this. That's why we love him so much. It's impossible unless you are Messi or who, to put in a 10 out of 10 every day. The guy is human. I don't think his performance has been anywhere near as bad as what's being made out. I just hope that the crap on social media doesn't filter through to his life, and because at the end of the day, he could go. And he could go anywhere he wants in the world.
We had this conversation, didn't we? And I mentioned,
well, don't tell everyone. That's why I've rang up.
No, but I mean, it's not. It's difficult to compare. But back then when we had Jose Perez, for example, there was a lot of things that were said about him, and it had a huge effect on his decision making with regards to leaving the club, I think. And there's lots of players that have done that. And when people like Bruno are starting to think that way, it's obviously concerning. Like you said, he can go wherever.
He was 100 times the player Jose Perez was.
Exactly, and he can absolutely go wherever he wants to, and that's what my worry is like even talking about it on here today. You try not to be negative about anything, but even the conversations that we're having, there's just negative connotations, isn't there? And the last thing you want is for people to start taking that to heart. And when social media is the way it is today, everything gets watched. I think a lot of things that we put out gets watched and you don't even realise. Sometimes I'm quite adamant Maximan's left because of Newcastle Fans TV. I'm joking.
No.
I'm joking, but you know what I mean. It's difficult. It's what do you think's gone wrong, Sam? Bear in mind we've played 3 very good sides, haven't we, in the last 3 games?
Yeah, I mean we've bar 1 point, which is the difference that we got last season at Brighton. Our results are pretty much mirrored last season's. We're only a point behind in comparison. Don't get me wrong, the pressure is on Howe now because that first game back after the international break at home to Brentford, if that isn't a win, then questions will be asked. But as it stands right now, he's got the international break to regroup. Horrendous start, brilliant first weekend, respectable defeat at Man City. The last 2 games have been bitterly disappointing. Well, the last half an hour of Liverpool and the last game have been bitterly disappointing. Yeah, but there's no need to panic just yet. Eddie Howe's done a tremendous job, and he's not stupid. He knows there is a degree of pressure on him going into Brentford, and obviously we've got the Milan game in the middle of that, and then we've got a run of, Brentford included, we've got a run of really winnable Premier League games to So we need to judge him after the next 6 or 7 Premier League games and then see where we're at, to be honest, before people start getting carried away and putting the boot in. As it stands at the minute, we've all got to be fully behind the team, and I think in the main we are. It's just the few claims that you get online that are just, the shouty minority, as opposed to the silent majority that are behind Eddie Howe and all the lads, which is what we should be.
Agreed. Mike has asked. I'll come on to the Brighton game very shortly. But Mike's asked in the chat, do you think Eddie needs to change our formation?
I thought he was going to going into this season because he was experimenting with a few formations in pre-season. We spoke about it on the watch along how Brighton's 4-2-3-1 just completely overrun our world class midfield, which it is at the end of the day. Barring Joelinton, who didn't really look fully fit.
Yeah, that was a strange one from me as well. Like, I know, again, we mentioned it, didn't we? I was just surprised that he started him.
I think that's a case of, well, the international break's next. Can we get an hour out of him?
Mm.
Yeah, that's what I think that was. And, on another day, probably not. But, it is what it is. Joelinton's, a world-class midfielder now.
Yeah,
so, it's worth taking the risk. And Tonali, that bears the brunt of major frustration because he keeps getting substituted when he really doesn't. I'd like to see maybe him and Bruno switch, maybe towards like the end of the game, instead of Howe taking him off. So Tonali can sit and then Bruno can get on the right hand side of the three, which is where he played actually when he first signed. I'd like to see that happen a bit more. I mean, Tonali's energy is there to be seen for everyone. He's a hell of a lot pacier than Bruno, but I'd just like to see that little switch because whilst it's still very much early days, there's a degree of not clicking, and we are missing Sean Longstaff, we are missing Willock. That's because it was a more of a gelled unit towards the end of last season.
Massively agree. I think one touching point I wanted to mention as well, because it seemed that he started bright, but Isak, do you think Callum Wilson's knocking on the door again? There always seems a constant battle between the two in terms of who's going to start, or do you maybe look at this point, do you maybe look at switching Harvey Barnes or Gordon over onto the right and playing Isak out on the left? What do you want to see?
Look, you know how I feel about Isak. Everyone knows how I feel about Isak. But, this is why you have a squad. Callum Wilson's a proper Premier League striker. And, he starts for me against Brentford. I'll be amazed. So long as he comes back from England injury-free, I'll be amazed if he doesn't start. Barnes would be pushing for a start. I don't think Gordon had a good game at Brighton. Liverpool, he was absolutely phenomenal. City, he was very, very good. Villa, very, very good as well. It might just be a case of needing to freshen things up a little bit, but I wouldn't be panicking. Maybe Gordon moves over to the right and Harvey Barnes comes in on the left. That's an option. Or Isak on the left. But I do tend to prefer Isak on the left, not from the start, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like when we're chasing a game, I don't like it from the start. I don't think it works as well. But yeah, I'm sure there'll be a couple of 3 changes. The international breaks here now for a chance to regroup. Lewis Hall's going to get a bit of game time for England under 20s, so that'll be good if he can get up to speed. So yeah, it's time to see what Eddie can do in the break, and we go again, and then we've got European jaunts to look forward to as well. So this is a major test now of Eddie Howe and his squad. The next 6 to 8 games are going to be crucial and are going to shape our season.
I think just before, because I know you are busy, Mr. Mulliner. Regards the Lewis Hall comment that you've made, and obviously Livramento as well. I think, I don't know about you, I've been surprised at how how I wouldn't capitulate is the wrong word, but how different we've been at the back without Sven Botman, especially after.
Only been one game.
Yeah, but I mean, even Shah looked completely off it for me. It's especially in terms of what he's like usually. He just seemed like, I don't know. Is he carrying a knock, or are you annoyed that we didn't sign a centre half? Or not just that, but obviously Matt Target. You're not his biggest fan, which is fair enough. Would you like to see Lewis Hall or Livramento come in?
Yeah, I'd like to see Lewis Hall come in. I think he's a player with great potential, and it'll prove to be one of our, best deals for the price we've got him for. As regards to a centre half goes, look, Fabian Schär has that in his locker to kind of strop and spit his dummy out when things aren't going well. He's done it plenty of times before, and things were going disastrously.
Yeah.
We'd all had a dust watching that game. But I wouldn't be panicking about that. You'll probably see Lascelles a hell of a lot more this season because of the need to rotate the squad.
Does that concern you, Sam, or not?
No, not at all. I've never been a Lascelles hater, to be honest. I think for a squad player, he's absolutely fine. The next time we sign a centre half, this is going to be Sven Botman's partner, and it shouldn't be rushed for a quick deal at the end of a window. This has got to be done properly, a la Botman, Tonali, Bruno, one of them deals. Because the next time we sign a centre half, it's Sven Botman's partner for the next 5 to 10 years. So it's got to be done properly.
You've got a very good track record of talking our transfers into fruition. So centre half, who would you like to see at Newcastle?
Probably, I've always said Gonzalo Inacio, but he is a left-sided centre back. Looking to, without being a clever dick and finding some unknown one around Europe, I wouldn't mind us keeping it simple and going for Mark Gehi from Crystal Palace.
Okay.
I think that's an option. There are a few others around Europe. As I say, my main one is Inacio from Sporting, but like I say, he's more of a left-sided one. But yeah, I'd keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. And Mark Gehi for me is high on my list.
Fair enough. You heard it first from Sam. I imagine we'll probably sign him within the next 6 to 12 months. Then get your bets in.
I mean, if it does, then Dan Ashworth seriously needs to be. I need to be on some kind of payroll.
Absolutely, because I think at that point we know that you're either working with him.
Maybe I'm in the know and I don't even know it.
Oh, no, maybe you are.
Maybe I'm gonna start a Twitter account immediately.
Final question, because I've got another one coming in. Just very quickly, Sam, how do you think we're going to fare in that AC Milan game, first game of the Champions League campaign?
I'm a bit annoyed it's the first game, to be honest, because this is the one for me that we kind of, if we are going to progress outside of winning your home games, this is where we need to be picking up points. Look, Milan have got some very, very good players. Their left-hand side is one of the best in world football. They've also got some bang average players. Can we go there? I mean, the last time we went to the San Siro against Inter Milan, we got a 2-2 draw, as we all know. I'd take that this time.
Definitely.
I'd take getting a point at the San Siro. So that's what I'm gonna go for, and hopefully we can celebrate a bit of a result at one of Green King's 900 pubs.
Definitely. If you haven't watched our watch-alongs, please do. We'll be covering every away game that is televised at one of the Green King pubs. And so, yes.
Well, no, it's the Junction in Haymarket. It's not one of them. We're not going to tour it.
We might do. You don't know yet. We haven't had.
We could tour it.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe we go to the away venue without a ticket and just jump in a Junction in a Green King pub.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good idea, isn't it? Are you thinking one for the Milan one? Are you thinking somewhere near the Lake District?
Might well be. If you're up for it, mate.
Evening, Mrs. KARL, if you're watching.
Yeah, that's if I don't have a spare of the moment trip to the airport. Definitely not for the prices that they've gone to it now, anyway.
Oh God, mate.
Yeah, but on that note, we will be in Dortmund, providing Sam gets the full sign-off.
Yeah, permission slip still TBC. Negotiations are entering the final stages, but she is banking on me failing the medical.
Which is a shame because I have accommodation booked. So, yeah, that and transport is sorted pretty much. So we're just waiting for Sam's sign off, and then it's a pretty much full roster of NFTV over to Dortmund, isn't it?
Bosh.
So, Sam, I really appreciate your time, mate. Happy birthday again, and we'll get one final call in before we end the stream, and I'll speak to you on WhatsApp, mate.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye. Brilliant. Sam talking sense as always. I missed a call from a number ending 870 and 990. So if either of you want to give me a call back, we can chuck you on just before we finish the stream. We'll make that the last one. We'll finish in the next 5 to 10 minutes. I really do appreciate all of the input I've had from you in both the chat and over the phone. You're absolute legends. You've made this very enjoyable. I've really enjoyed this format. Let me know what you think about it. Final call coming in. Hello, you're live on Newcastle Fans TV. Who am I talking to?
Hello, mate. It's Graham Shields. I'm from Scotland, as you can tell.
How are you, Graham? You okay, mate?
I'm good, my friend. I'm good. I was watching the past couple calls you had in there. I think there's some good points, man. I think I'd be in a bit more of the positive side of things. Okay. I know we've been struggling a bit. I was down for the Liverpool game. That was a sore one to take. And I think, going by that game and the Brighton game, my two main concerns were, and I'm fully behind Eddie, right? But my two main concerns were the substitutions that we made. I think that's sort of the same for most folk. I think the big ones was taking Tonali off, and I know he's just fresh in the squad like this summer, but I just with his performances, when he is playing, he looks fully fit, and the performances we were getting out of him, it looks too good to take off. If you know what I mean?
100%. I mean, Graham, why do you think it is that was the case? Especially in that Liverpool game, that Tonali and Anthony Gordon were the best players on the pitch. It just baffled me. What do you think? Eddie thought the game was won, or what?
Well, I was saying that about Gordon as well. I agree. In the Liverpool game, Gordon was unbelievable, fantastic. And I thought it kind of blew my mind a bit when they decided to take him off. And again, I know he's trying to get the rotation in, get players fit. But the way we came into the start of the season, we played 6 or 7 friendlies. I mean, we've seen how fit we were last season. I'd say we're arguably the top 3 fittest teams in the Prem, with the style of play we play, the intensity we play at. I felt there was coming into the start of the season, there's no reason that players should be not fit enough to go and play 90 minutes. It's not the same for every club, but I feel like with us, the way that Eddie runs the team, I don't understand. I think he's maybe a bit hesitant as to who his best squad is and the fitness levels. I don't understand it quite. But I would say that, like, the main thing for me with the past 2 games was Bruno's performance, and a lot of people agree as well. I mean, Tonali he's shown the past couple of games the level he's at, and he's came into the season and the fitness he's got, and he obviously has to adapt, and it's going to take time. But Bruno's just been off it, really. I don't know if that's fitness or what, or if it's the new trio that we've got in the midfield. Even the position that he's wanting Bruno to play. It's quite a hard one to understand.
It definitely is, and I think Sam was mentioning the same thing. You'd like a little bit of a switch around and I spoke to apologies, I can't remember who the first caller was, but he mentioned that, is it a case of Bruno and Tonali are trying to do the same job? Do you think that could play some factor in it as well? And the fact that Bruno obviously come out in the documentary and said how much he loves chocolate. But no. And also, do you think it's got something to do that they're quite similar, and it maybe trying to differentiate their roles might have something to do with it?
I mean, I do agree that they're sort of similar, but I feel like Bruno's slightly more creative in the attacking sense, and Tonali's better at the defensive sense. So now I know last season statistically, I think Bruno was right up there with like possession won and retained and things like that. I think Bruno's one of the kind of higher rated ones for and doing that more defensive role. But Tonali, you see his work rate and his effort and his timing when it goes. It's like he doesn't often foul, which I think the way he goes into challenges is quite aggressive, but he comes out with the ball, I'd say 8 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10 times. Whereas, and I feel like Bruno, when he's sitting deeper, there's something, he's wasted slightly, maybe. Because in the attacking third, when he's confident and he's taking risks, he can produce some brilliant stuff. I mean, you see with the work in the training ground, the little thing where we're on the edge of the 18-yard box, we play it back to Bruno, he chips it over the top for Almiron to run in, and that was creating chance after chance, and it's obviously one of the few things they work on. But I don't know. I feel like it's a hard one to work out. I think as well with Joe Linton in the Brighton game there, he wasn't fit enough.
No,
he wasn't at full fitness, which is, again, you kind of question why play him like that when we do have more depth now. We have players that Sean Longstaff's obviously technically not as good, but I felt like he's if you're going to then he replaces Joe Linton for breaking the play up.
I think, and Sam mentioned it, I was a little bit on the other side of it, where Sam said, well, international break is coming up, so they've seen, can we get an hour out of him? Well, I would have been like, well, let's start Sean. His fitness isn't up to scratch for the season, so let's start Sean. Let's get 60 minutes out of him, and then maybe bring Joe Linton on for the last 30. Do you know what I mean? That's what, and hindsight is a wonderful thing. It just feels like we've had such a blessing of good decisions from everybody within the club over the last 12 months, obviously, 18 months. And a few little cracks are starting to appear. And it's nothing, I don't think it's anything to worry about at all. I think we can still be positive. But they're highlighted because of how well we've done over the last season. Yeah. It just feels like some of these small decisions that we've got wrong are looking like they're huge mistakes. But how do you think we're going to fare this season, Graham? How do you think we're going to fare in the Champions League? What is a successful season for you this season? Is it emulating Champions League again, or would you be happy with a good cup run and again Europa League? What's success for you this season, mate? I
would say just one more thing before I'd go into what my season would be like. It's the other question mark's Elliot Anderson. Yeah. Now, I saw somewhere that Eddie Howe said at the start of the season that when the players came back for the first training and that for pre-season, Elliot Anderson was the fittest player in the whole squad.
And had a fantastic pre-season.
We saw his pre-season. It was phenomenal, and he showed glimpses of that last year when he got a chance. And I felt like, it's hard to put him in that midfield with who we've got, but when Joe Linton's not fully fit and Bruno's playing slightly off, against Chelsea, it was against City, even against Man City when he brought Anderson on, he was brilliant. He was a spark. He takes risks. No, and I think was it against Brighton there, he brought Anderson on, didn't he? And it didn't click for him, but again, that was we just didn't look ourselves in the day. But going on for the season, it's obviously not going to be easy with the competitive amount of games we play and the Champions League and everybody else. I feel like the standard in the Premier League this year is, again, it's raised. Again, there's more challenges. You've got the likes of Liverpool, they're a team that that can plummet on at any second, and I feel like they'll be back up there this season. I feel personally them and City will be the kind of top two, but you can't rule out Arsenal again because they went and they put 3 by United there, and they were just off it last season.
Sorry to cut you off, and I think you made a very valid point there as well, because Liverpool have gone and smashed Villa this weekend, and then I think we might be getting carried away, even myself. I think maybe we're underestimating how good Brighton actually are. Yes, West Ham have beaten them, but Brighton were a very good side last season. So, and we should have beat Liverpool, but again, I absolutely agree with you. I think Liverpool are going to be right back up there this season.
Brighton as well, though, credit to them. They're so well run, and tactically they broke us down. With the way they pulled apart our midfield, with the kind of CDM coming short, and I think it was João Pedro in the number 10 role. They knew how to break us down, and that's obviously there. People underestimate them, but they're proving themselves as a top club right now in football, like a top club in the Premier League, definitely. But I feel for us, like, we'll be lucky to get any further than the group stage in the Champions League, but that's not to say that it's definitely not doable. Because I mean, you look at the other clubs, PSG, they're still massive. They've still got Kylian Mbappe,
which is mad, isn't it?
And the other things, I mean, with the four of us, including ourselves, the fan bases are absolutely massive, which helps massively. Now, like, I stay in Ayrshire in Scotland, and it's a very Glasgow Rangers sort of area, and it's the same with them in Celtic. Their fan bases can take them places, and that's the same with, and because they're huge, they get behind the team, and that's the same with us, Dortmund, PSG, and Milan. It's not going to be easy, but I could. Dortmund aren't the same team they always were. They've got cracks in the team. It's the same with AC Milan. It's the same with us, and it's the same with PSG. So I couldn't predict how we'll do in the Champions League, but I mean, I still have confidence. I've got great confidence in the squad, because although we're not quite at it yet, I mean, Eddie's proven a lot from the turnaround that he made as soon as he came in with pretty much the same squad, like give up, a few changes. I think it's just a hiccup in the grand scale of things. I'm fully behind him, definitely. And I think I heard somebody say maybe after like 6-7 games, see how he gets on. I still think, I know the Saudis and the ownership and what have you, they'll look at it like, you got to get results, but there's a long term, there's a plan in place anyway, and they have proven that they know how to get us playing well with the squad that we had. But coming to the Premier League, I think you want to get Champions League again, but again, you're top 6 getting Europa League wouldn't be the end of the world. Europa League's still European football. You're playing against some of the elites, and you still get good money for it. You know what I mean?
100% agree.
I think we made a good head start by getting the Champions League this year, which helps with the funds, and that, I think that's gave us a bit of relief for if next year we do just get Europa League, and it's not a losing situation at all. I mean, for where we came from in the short space of time, it's something to be proud of still.
Massively agree with you, Graham. I really appreciate your time, mate.
I appreciate you having me on.
No, I hope you call in next time. I had people in the chat saying it's been absolutely brilliant having new people call up. Yeah, really, really appreciate everyone's input. Graham, we'll speak to you soon, mate. Take care, and thanks again for your time, mate.
Right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, I really echo that, and I think Graham's made some absolutely fantastic points there. Taking a bit of a more positive spin on it. I don't think anyone's been overly negative. It's just a conversation. It's difficult, isn't it? There is negativity there, and we all absolutely adore Eddie Howe. None of us want him out. Let's be honest. None of us want him out. None of us want to put pressure on the team, because we're all very, very thankful of where we've been. But the performances at the end of the Liverpool game and in the Brighton game haven't been good enough. But then you take a step back and you think, well, these are 3 really good sides, really good. Manchester City is a write-off, isn't it? It doesn't matter. We weren't bad against them. They're Manchester City. Liverpool, we should have won. We should have put our foot on the pedal and got that one done. Maybe become a little bit complacent. And from there, I just thought we'd bounce back and do a little bit more against Brighton. But Graham had a great point. Absolutely credit to Brighton. They're a fantastic side. They emulated that high press and did it far better than we have. Did it far better than we did in that game. João Pedro was fantastic as well, and had he have took a few of his chances, it could have been more. But even that, Isak had a couple of chances at the start. Had he have taken them and been able to get the ball out of his feet, it's a different story. It is what it is. It went the other way. I don't think there's anything to worry about at all. My only worry is the pressure that Eddie Howe might get from the above, should we come out with a crazy result against Sheffield United. But honestly, I expect us to go and hammer them. I do. I'm gonna say that I expect Newcastle to go and hammer Sheffield United. Now, if we don't, then we'll assess that afterwards. But I'm not worried. I don't think anyone else is really worried. And yeah, we're going to end it there, guys. I really, really appreciate all of your input. You're absolute legends. You've made this so worthwhile. It's taken me back to kind of lockdown times, getting everyone involved. Going to make this a thing going forward. We'll look at how regularly we can do it and what we've got to speak about. I'll certainly do one once a week, post-game, of course. Either on the Sunday or the Monday, dependent on time, but I'll start getting a schedule in place, and if there's things to talk about in the week, we'll do a call-in format as well, because it's worked great. Yeah, sorry, I'm just reading some of the comments there. I thought Bruno was going to play a bit higher up when we signed Tonali. I did as well. Someone said sack Howe before it's too late. I think that's just a bait comment, which is absolutely ridiculous. But we're going to end it there, guys. You're absolute legends. Thanks again. Speak to you very soon, and have a good evening. Take care. Just one man in it here, so let's get the camera off.